here's one of the
wow.
Right here.
Steve? You guys had Tron like 30 years ago. It was not only groundbreaking in its special effects, but in terms of capturing sort of the zeitgeist of the technology. What are you guys claiming with
Well, the zeitgeist and the role of Tron has changed because the first films had to cross the line and get to the new frontier. And we did that, but we were free to imagine it any way we wanted. We didn't have to think of the implications too much. We could bring down the time-sharing mainframe, get a PC in the hands of everyone. Everything was going to be feature team. And the next wave is to move into cyberspace and really integrate it, like I said, into modern life, to make it all it can be. And there's no more excuses, you know. We've got to make it civilized. We've got to make it represent all the best that we are and try to avoid representing all the worst that we are. So it's a challenge of making it real. And Joe has done a phenomenal job of just picking up that challenge and making it real on many levels.
Jan, question for Jen. This movie represents probably the longest span between two films. What does this movie represent to you? And before signing on to it, what did you feel that this movie needed to be before you said, yeah, let's do it?
Oh, I missed that the question just before that.
Yeah, it seems that this is the longest span between two films and what you thought of, you know, what you wanted this movie to be before you said, yes, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, you know, what got me to say yes to the first one was that all the utilization and also Steve's enthusiasm and how clearly he saw his vision. And his enthusiasm kind of contagious, and I got it. And we went with it, and wonderful experience. And it was similar on this one. I was so happy to know that Steve, the source material, was still involved. Having met Joe and seeing all his talent, how he could really pull this thing off, and I knew that it would have to be more than the first film. And I saw that Joe had the goods to be that. And the challenge was kind of the story, and that was the big special effects that was getting that story right. And we worked on it, and I think we came up with it. It was, it's interesting when you view the budget of movies, you would think that the script would be all in order. But my experience is that it's not that way. It's almost like a very expensive in that you are, let's figure it out. Come on, how are we doing? We're going to do this tomorrow. So you figure it out, and you're, on the happy days, and I feel people really unhappy days, actually, in this one, where you pull it off. And it's kind of, it's exhilarating the way it works. It's meant to be kind of madness, but it's also very exciting the way it works. Very fresh and almost like a little independent film.
They're taking the old and new again, orange and silver, and perhaps why is it important to reinvent some of these classic films from the new library?
Well, it's actually not been a specific strategy for us. I sort of look at it as it's an idea besides me, and is there a great story, and what's going to come up with something that's fresh and unique that would get me passionate about seeing a movie and frankly seeing dailies every day for 50 to 100 days. So, as Jeff said, it comes down to vision. I think that, when Joe presented his vision of what the world of Tron would look like, and put together this amazing cast perfect combination to me in this case of someone like Jeff, who is extreme icon for decades, and having him connected to this movie was essential. I think it was essential to all of us on the filmmaking side. And then combining that with new technology, and it was important that all of us have really an eye for that new technology, and new actors on screen, and the combination of all that was kind of and so it was never a rolling time to look through the Disney library and say, let's do that and that. It was coming out of some Wonderland screen, and so that doesn't sound genuine, but it's the truth, you know, with a movie like Alice in Wonderland or Christmas Carol or Tron, to me it depends on the unique vision. And if Joe Kaczynski didn't have the vision that he had for this project, we wouldn't be here today talking about it. It just has to be that perfect measure.
Frank.
I'm down here on the floor, guys. Sorry. Jeff, I imagine you never thought you'd be making a Tron 2, letting alone fighting your young self in it. Talk about that.
No, you know, over the years, I would do something like this, and somebody would say, "So here they make the new Tron." I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Oh yeah, this you're kind of like you know." You're kind of lost in the work, kind of an apocalypse now, you know, and you're Kurtz or something.
You know, what's that technology that allows you to interact with your younger self? And what do you see of that?
How do you mean?
We see from Tron 1 also, right?
Yeah.
You see now. What kind of kick is that?
It's kind of bizarre, you know, we had, you know, it's almost talking about this stuff, it's almost, I'm kind of reticent because it's a bit like, you know, a magician trick. It shows you how to do it, and now, the trick, you lose some of the excitement of seeing the trick, so I don't want to talk too much about all the techniques, but, it was a challenge.
Well, you talk about story-wise, what it means for you to have both versions of you.
Story-wise, well, you know, sometimes I'll look at a movie often as if it's a dream. You know, what do they say about a dream? That all the characters are in the dream, the aspects of the dream. And so, with this movie, I would go into that zone occasionally. As a dream, that all these characters are aspects of myself, or Kevin Ford.
I heard downstairs you showed a picture of Tron City. I'd love to hear more about this new world that the people are going to go into.
Yeah, well, like you said downstairs, the world of Tron has evolved kind of on its own, like an aquarium. Disconnected from the outside world for 20, 25 years. So as it continued to evolve, it continued to grow, the simulation has gotten more perfect and more realistic. So the scale of the world is much bigger than it was before. The realism, the physics, the visceral quality of it, it all feels, I want the film to feel like we went in and shot everything with motion picture cameras. The line between what's real and not should be blurred.
What did you mean by a cyber western?
Well, I meant that in the sense that, in a way, the cyberspace has a connection to what Western represent, in that it's the frontier that will now never change. The original cyberspace in Tron is sort of has its place in time when all of this just happened for the first time. And it's pretty amazing to me that after 27 years, Joe can do an image and you put it on the screen and people just say, wow, that's Tron. It's, you know, it's Tron. And so I meant it in the sense that it's a perpetual frontier now. Like Western.
even though CGI was in its baby steps, now so many years later, in which way is this movie new and fresh? And in which way were you able to push the envelope?
Well, the thing about it, people say, what's it like doing Tron after all these years? Now the computers can do everything. And we love to believe that, but the fact of the matter is, no matter how much they can do, Joe's going to do 105%, and we're going to end up 5% short of computer power. So men always just, civilization always pushes the tools right to the limit. And it's a misnomer to think that we can do anything. Whatever we can do, we're going to do it, and we're going to try to do something that we probably might be a step too far. So it's always a challenge.
Looking back at that first one, Dan said, I remember when, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was shot in 70mm black and white. And we had a bunch of, we had black blue and white adhesive tape. That was basically our sets. And it was all hand tinted by Korean ladies, right? In Korea, they're doing their hand cut, hand tinted, wasn't it?
And
obviously CGI, there was.
Well, we sort of, a lot of it was done by hand using traditional techniques, and we sort of degraded the live action so it lined up with what CG could do at the time. So we didn't get hung up on trying to make CG look real, because it's still struggling with looking real. But one of the things that was interesting back then is some of the old timers that helped us make the film were around in the days of Walt used to say, oh, the fact that we're not sure how this is all going to come out, this actually feels like the old days around here. And they said, people have a mistaken idea that all the classic Disney films were predictable and they knew exactly how they were going to come out and what it was going to be like to make them. And it really apparently wasn't that way. That they always felt that they were, running as fast as they could and they might be on the brink of, having bitten off too much. And so that was really satisfying to hear that, we were doing that. And we always used to joke that every night we'd wait for, Bambi and Thumper to come out and help us. I can't say it.
This whole frontier thing is a question of Disney's investing a lot in 3D, so should we expect any investments in 3D? Should we expect a burden in 3D? Because Tron was the groundbreaking CGI.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I'm really excited about 3D, but I'm also excited. I'm probably the most excited about these 3Ds right here, the Gareth, the Olivia, and the bridges. So it's not 3D to me is what we're doing now in America, which is we're being pretty good about manipulating information and getting it to do what we want. We're more interested in how we move data than we are in building cars apparently. So I think 3D is going to be here to stay, and I think it's going to get into everything. And if there's another dimension or two that we find, I think we're going to get into that too, as long as we can turn it into data. And good storytelling, the better story is, the more data it gives you that's good data. Okay? The better an actor is, the more information you get from that actor. So it's all about gathering the best data all across the board. So I think 3D is going to be the way to go.
Did you shoot on 3D?
Yeah, we did shoot. Joe worked his butt off.
Aren't they going to have 3D without glasses? Is that going to work already?
Hi, my question's for whoever can answer. The game that was released a couple of years ago, the first-person shooter, kind of reinvented the interest in Tron. Did that affect this being made again, the sequel being produced? And is there any chance of a game being tied into this, being released?
We got a lot, obviously, with players in the game, advancing the movie started back in 82. There was the game a few years ago. It didn't really impact our proceeding or not proceeding with this movie. I think we kind of looked at the movie on its own merits. That said, once we were getting underway with the movie, we were certainly in pretty active conversations across the Walt Disney Company We are talking about a man who goes into a digital universe. And so how else can that idea be applied, and what else are we going to go do with that? So I think there'll be some news.
Would there be a thought maybe to doing a multiplayer online with it?
A lot of stuff being discussed right now.
Hi, I don't know if any of you is a Comic-Con virgin, but in any case, how important is the Comic-Con these days to promote Tron 2? And I don't know if Tron 1 was ever at the Comic-Con, if you could talk of the evolution of Comic-Con for this movie.
Yeah, Comic-Con is very important for certain movies, in my opinion, and Tron seems like the perfect marriage of movie and location to get new things. If you guys were here last year, you saw the test piece that we showed last year that we showed again today. Last year it was just a preview. And that piece of footage we showed unannounced to this convention, and it created a firestorm of excitement and interest, and we thought it made sense to come back, and we have every plan to come back next year, because next year we'll actually have some real footage from the Tron world, which we unfortunately didn't have, as Joe mentioned. He just finished last week, shooting movies. So, but we also felt a certain obligation to come here because we kind of got launched last year.
But is it dangerous for the director to show something so early, so quick, as we showed today? That's the same that you just put together?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's ever showed footage that they shot the week before. As a video like this, so it was kind of crazy to cut it all together last week, but we thought it would, we wanted to give the fans something exclusive here.
Hi, Erin Craig. You guys shot with live action series. Great. You guys use a particular system?
We did. We used a brand new iteration of the case camera system built by Space Camera. I think for the first film we used 35mm sensor cameras, and something at 35. So full aperture motion picture video camera. Just a stunning image in 3D. It's even more spectacular. So we built the cameras weeks before the film started shooting. We were really happy with it.
For Garrett and Olivia, what was your input on something that you watched growing up, or with this introduction video?
Actually, it's kind of unique how I did it, because I was working on my first film, and I ended up watching Tron for the first time in Malta, on a balcony in an alleyway, right here. It's like Bob's playing the cats, and you sort of have some sort of slight kind of, there's kind of odd, watch, but it doesn't do a lot of working with all the guys who work, but really exciting that really fun. So then, somebody introduced me to it, it's kind of, it's a great time, and even more sort of surreal to be working with them. It's crazy.
Well, Garrett and I were both released after Tron Legacy. So I was aware of the huge phenomenon in the culture, obviously. I think I was first aware of it when we referenced different music videos, games, TV shows. I think, T-shirts. If I saw a ton of T-shirts before I saw the movie. I really watched it carefully before the beginning of the show. I admit. But I'm glad I did. It holds up. I mean, right now, that retro, funky look that it has is cool to watch, I think. I mean, it was revolutionary for its time, and we're revolutionary for our time. So it's very, very exciting for us.
What was the most demanding of you, physically or emotionally, for your character?
Maybe next year you get a sort of better glimpse, but once in the Tron world, I wear the very You know, that's fantastic. It looks amazing. Especially in 3D. But for 2 months straight, you know, all day, every day, you know, being in this, you start forgetting what it's like to go and build just, you know, doing shit. But I mean, just physically, you know, grooving day after day, either the table works or the certain stunts we have to do. You know, the most minimal of stuff can be very tedious. I mean, just taking one knee, you know, and holding your arm down straight is tough.
Any life cycle work?
Stephen, Bill, you see that this world of Tron evolving beyond this movie, or just have to wait for another 30 years or something?
Well, hopefully not 30. It's a little too long. I think it's a generational thing. I think that part of the reason that Tron is happening now is because it feels like the generational wheel has aligned and the planets are aligned now for it. And so, yeah, I think that cyberspace and that technology will continue to evolve. I certainly hope so.
I love the movie set up. Any chance, I actually saw Tron for the first time in San Diego, so it's really we discovered it in Tron here. But I was interested since, you know, the retro is so much, in fact, swing. Any nods to the original Tron, any sort of like winks to the audience if you know what we're referencing?
Yeah, I think fans of the original film, there's going to be a lot in there for them to discover. It's a movie, I think, that even if you haven't seen the original Tron, you'll be able to sit down and watch this and get totally wrapped up in the world. But if you are a hardcore fan, there's a lot of things in the film that you'll enjoy. So our crew worked very hard to make sure that everything kind of lined up perfectly with the Tron Legacy.
Part of the heart of the original was the music of Wendy Carlos, so are you planning to do something for this special movie?
Yeah, we mentioned downstairs, you know, music was a very important part of the original, so for this one we looked for a music collaborator that we thought was just as cutting edge today, and we settled on a pair of Frenchmen named Daft Punk, who are electronic musicians, and they're known mostly for dance music and pop music, kind of being at the top of their game, but they're both extremely bright musicians whose taste goes much broader than their kind of pop stuff. So we've been working with them for about 6 months now on doing the score for the entire film.
They're Tron heads, aren't they?
They're Tron.
They dress like Tron.
Yes, it was a perfect marriage. They dress in suits and helmets and
wow.
Their aesthetic and everything, and they're a perfect match.
They were inspired, I guess, by the movie.
They were.
But are you going to have some of the themes of the original?
Yeah, you know, we've taken bits and pieces, and we were able to track down some of the original sound stamps from the original film that I handed over to the guys, so they're using those, incorporating them in the score.
Thank you.
Looking for digital Tron has changed generation. Now we are leaving this thing with several movies that were classics and premiered when they are coming back. The studios are showing a launch of movies out. Which is the band to the following? You're going to secrecy and then just show you movie and it's complete, or you're going to start showing movies.
Great question. Frankly, right now, we would love to have shown more today, because shooting. But you know, at the same time, as proud as we are of the movie so far and the designs of the movie and where we have to take it, we also believe that you know, when we get to that place where we have stuff in our hands, we'll make a decision now. As opposed to make a decision now and follow that rule, we're going to make the rules up as we go.
Someone mentioned a while ago that there was a game a few years ago based on Tron, which seems to me to say that Tron has always been in the back of someone's mind to make a sequel to it. If that's the case, then how many attempts were there to conceptually make Tron to a sequel? If that is the case, then what is it about this attempt that makes it forward?
You know, like so many movies, 10 years or 15 years in development. We've had so many different incarnations of this, but as Steve said, this seemed to be the right time for it, and the right story for it, and the right vision for it. And any one of those elements not being, you know, at the highest level, we weren't going to do it.
And Ricky, this is our last question, guys.
What we wanted to do was, as Joe mentioned a little bit earlier, if you come to this movie, you don't have to have any prior knowledge of the Tron universe, the Tron mythology. This movie is a standalone, entertaining movie. What we did do is we looked very closely at the movie, obviously, and we talked a lot, and we built, or tried to build a mythology between 1982 and 2010. This movie takes place in 2010, but accepts that the history of what happened between 1982 and 2010 really happened. So I guess it heavily considers the original, accepts the events of the original as true fact and backstory for our story, but our story is a standalone story.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.